Ohio State is your 2024 national champion, and honestly, the reason it's taken me so long to make this video is I've been at a loss for words just for what this team was able to accomplish, what they were able to do, what they were able to go through, what they had to overcome. It's a truly incredible story. The only word that I can think of when I saw them holding up that national championship trophy was hope. Just hope that if and you could factor this in life, you could factor this in other sports. If things aren't going your way, if you lock in, if you go on a run, go on a stretch of just positive actions, you can be a champion. You can be a champion. And I thought it was absolutely incredible the run that they went on, what they were able to do after suffering one of their worst losses in program history. That Michigan loss was so bad. And you could see it. They all felt defeated. They were embarrassed on their home field, and they come back. They rout Tennessee. They destroy Oregon. They survive against Texas, and they pretty much rout Notre Dame. Notre Dame made a push to come back at the end of this game, but Ohio State pretty much put this thing out of reach in the third quarter. I mean, they were just dominant. I locked it in yesterday. I think they repeat. You have to factor Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs, who I think are the two best players on that football team, are going to be back next year. You still have Carter. You have a lot of guys returning. You're losing a lot of defensive players, but arguably the best defensive guys come back, and your best offensive players come back too. So really, really bright future for Ohio State. How about Ryan Day? Everybody was calling for his job, including me after the Michigan game. And I think he really needed that loss. It really, really improved what they did. And the great thing about what they did in this college football playoff is they just let it rip. They weren't afraid, like in the past, to make mistakes. They weren't afraid. And they knew that they couldn't come home without winning this national championship. And they did it. And it's Ohio State's first title in 10 years, third of the century, ninth all time, in what's just been an incredible 21st century for Ohio State. But yeah, I honestly really lost for words. It's a great day to be a Buckeye. Incredible victory for them. It's going to be my favorite team ever. It would be really tough for another team to top this because you have so many elements to it. You have just a team that was so down bad. And you could talk about how the 2014 Ohio State team was down to a third-string quarterback, and they lost that early game to Virginia Tech. They weren't as down bad as these guys after that Michigan loss. There wasn't that much air taken out of a fan base, taken out of a team than that Michigan loss. It was brutal. It was brutal, and the loss to Oregon earlier in the year was really brutal too. And I'll say it about Will Howard when it's really an interesting how we got here, because I remember about a year ago there was rumors that they were looking to get Will Howard from Kansas State. And I hadn't really seen a lot of his tape, but I was like, well, that's not much different than what we had at McCord. So I had some pushback on it. And then I took some time. I looked at the tape and I was like, no, this guy's clearly better than Kyle McCord. I think he can, mobilize with his runs a little bit. And he came into Ohio State. And I remember I watched the first press conference that he did before he played any games when he committed to Ohio State. And I just sat there and I said, that seems like a leader. And that's been his best virtue as an Ohio State quarterback through it. Just an incredible leader. I don't know how good he's going to be in the NFL. I think that if he goes to the right team, he could have a path to do good. But unbelievable leader, held those guys together. It's exactly what they needed. It's exactly what McCord wasn't. It was just really, really good leadership from Will Howard, and he balled out. He balled out in a lot of these games, pretty much all of them, and it was a really incredible run for him. And I'm happy for Will Howard. I'm happy for the Buckeyes. It's just a really great story. I mean, you couldn't. I don't think you could even write this if you gave this script to a Hollywood director, he'd be like, I don't know if it's believable enough. That's how good this was. And as I continue to say, this is going to be my favorite Buckeyes team from now to the foreseeable future. It would be really tough for some to top this. And, I'm happy, as I've been just saying, Ryan Day is now a national champion. They can never take that away from Ryan Day. Won a national championship, and no hot seat at all now. You get the national championship, there should be no hot seat at all. I don't care if he loses to Michigan next year. Obviously, me being an Ohio State fan, I want him to beat Michigan next year. But let's enjoy this national championship. Let's enjoy this national championship on top of college football, doing it for the third time of the century, in the century. It just was I was sitting there watching this, and I was like, this is just incredible. It was really, really, you could see it on these players fit. This senior class that came back, they all came back because they wanted to win a national championship. They had lost to Michigan 3 years in a row. The previous 2 years, they had lost to the eventual national champion, Georgia, in 2022. That Georgia game was crushing Georgia game. And then they lost in a tight battle to the eventual champions, Michigan, in 2023. And they came back and they wanted to go on this path. And early saw it. And then they lost a game that they probably they should have won against Oregon. And then they went on a run. They had a really good win against Indiana. It's like, oh, they can do this. And then that crushing loss to Michigan. And I think everybody in that locker room probably, I'm assuming the conversation went something like this. The seniors probably came together. They probably had a team-only meeting. And they said, guys, we came back here to win the national championship. We might have lost this game to Michigan, but we have an opportunity in these 4 games. We didn't come back to win nothing. We came back to get a ring. And that's exactly what they did. They came back and they got a national championship. All of them incredible. As I said earlier, I've already picked Ohio State to repeat. I just think that with what they have coming back and some of the new additions that they're getting, and you have to factor there's more transfer players that are going to be coming in to Ohio State in the offseason, just the way how crazy the transfer portal is. So I think Ohio State is going to win. I think they're going to have a good end to the 20s for sure. And wow, as I said though in the beginning, not kind of still in a state of shock that they were able to pull this off, but incredible victory for the Ohio State Buckeyes, and they are your 2024 national champion, another national championship for the Big Ten and Ohio State.